Welcome to I Am Well podcast. I am your host, Gemma, a nutritionist and mindset coach passionate about all things health and wellness. I'm going to take you on a journey to discovering what health means for you and how to create a life you love living. I'm on a mission to uplift those who feel overwhelmed with what it means to be healthy, reminding you, my listeners, that nutrition is only one aspect of health, and empower you to live your best life on your terms. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Okay, this podcast episode, for the first time ever, I started this podcast, I don't know now, back in March, and I always made a plan with myself to make sure that I was consistent. I was posting at least once a week each week. I wanted my audience to know that I would, no matter what, be having an episode dropping each week. And I didn't want it to just be a fluff episode. I wanted it to be substantial. I never wanted to just do it for the sake of doing it. Okay, so that leads me to my little excuse as to why today's episode was so late. Last week was one of the most hectic weeks of my life. Actually, that's a little dramatic. Okay, it was the most hectic week probably in a long time, okay? Literally, I teach my clients all about balance, right? I teach you to make sure that you have balance in your diet, balance in your lifestyle, making sure that you take time out for yourself to have rest, all of the things. And I try my hardest, hand on heart, my hardest to make sure that I'm doing the exact same for me. And sometimes I don't follow my own advice. Anyway, last week was just insane. I've already said it before, but we are in the middle of doing another big move. The amount of times my husband and I have moved within the last 5 years is insane. To give you a bit of background, we purchased our first home in, it was like 2018. We purchased land and a house. It was 2016 actually, we purchased the land. 2017 it got built and then we moved in. And then we sold that. I can't even give you the date. I'm so confused. It was around COVID, so 2020. And then we purchased another piece of land. We moved from our first home back to my parents' home while our next house was getting built. We then moved into our new house when it was built. And then we lived there for about 7 months and then we moved to Queensland. So we moved completely different states to where we used to live. And now we're moving again. We've lived in this rental for about a year and we saw this rental sight unseen. So it's just not for us. So now we are making sure that the next place that we love, because eventually we do want to buy, but we just don't want to jump into it. We just don't want to make that sort of commitment just yet when we haven't explored enough around here. We want to do a bit more investigation into investing and all of that. So we're renting again, but we definitely wanted to move somewhere else. And I'm so sick of moving. So we're trying to find another rental at the moment. And I'm going to be just upfront with you. It has been so stressful. I thought it would be a lot easier to find a place. And it's just been so hard. This one place that we love, we haven't heard anything back from. We've been waiting for an answer and it's been like 3 weeks, even though they said they're ready now. And we've looked at other places where, I don't know if anyone can relate to this if you've ever rented before, but you'll see the photos and they look amazing and it looks good. And you're like, yes, I can picture myself living there. And then you go and view it and it's completely not what you thought or how it looked. It like completely catfishes you. So anyway, we've still applied for those places and we're just waiting to hear back. I can't even tell you how many places I've applied for now, but I'm getting over it and I'm getting stressed. And it's so funny that I teach, it's not funny, but it's crazy that I teach clients, how to de-stress and how to regulate your hormones and regulate your emotions and stuff like that. And I am struggling. I just cannot wait until we're in our new place. So hence why today's episode has been pushed back. Last week I was just not in the right frame of mind to record a podcast episode. And as I said, I really want to make sure that everyone that I do, I'm passionate about. I want it to be substantial information. I don't want to just do it for the sake of doing it, because that's not why I wanted to do this. So I've really thought it out. I've had some time now to plan, and what I'm doing is I'm going to give you a 3-part series on syncing your life to your hormones, okay? So today's part 1, and today is really just understanding the cycle first. I just want you to leave this podcast having a really good understanding of what your cycle means, why you might be feeling different things at different times. And I really also want to debunk a lot of myths out there around the cycle. I got 10 myths actually that I want to debunk. So, and a lot of these are quite common and I've heard them myself, and some of them I even believed when I was growing up. So before I jump into that, one last thing I wanted to mention is that Gabby and I are, if you're new here, Gabby is a wellness coach, and we have done wellness retreats in the past together, and we are now bringing a 6-week holistic program online that anyone in the world can join. And this 6-week program entails mindfulness, so all about mindset, but bringing balance and harmony to that. So exactly what I'm going through, and this is exactly what I need. So I'm so glad that Gabby brings this to the program, because this is what I need. But it's all about regulating your emotions and how to get through this stressful life. It's so bloody stressful. And then module 2 is your hormones. So we've got diving deep into your hormones, understanding your cycle, everything that I'm kind of going through a little bit in this podcast today. And then we dive into fasting, we dive into exercising. Gabby has done a Pilates course, so she is now a qualified Pilates instructor, and she will be bringing you different, not just your standard Pilates methods, not what you see on TikTok, not what you're seeing on Instagram. There's the types of exercise she's bringing into this program. It's more about becoming more familiar with your body again, understanding and being creative, and letting that, if you ever have gone through any trauma, your body holds on to that trauma. So it's about letting go of that trauma from within. It's great to talk about it. It's great to, talk to your family, friends, or a therapist about it. That is amazing, but it can only do so much when sometimes the trauma is trapped inside. So that's what Gabby's bringing to this. Pretty much the program is for anyone who is feeling burnt out, who is feeling like no matter what they do, they just can't get a handle on themselves, on their energy, and they're just not feeling good. If it's to do with your weight, if it's to do with your mindset, this is the program for you. So it's 6 weeks. There'll be 3 Zoom calls, and there'll be a group chat, and so many modules and PDFs and information that you can have for life. So I highly recommend you join the waitlist if this is something that interests you, because the people that join the waitlist, we're actually giving them a discount on the early bird price. So we're having an early bird price, and then we're having the full price after that. But for those who are on the wait list, they actually get a discount on the early bird price. So you might as well join the wait list. And you will be receiving that email within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So stay tuned for the people who are already on there. Anyway, let's get stuck into today's episode. So let's understand your cycle, okay? You probably have somewhat of an idea. You know that you bleed. You know that in the middle you're ovulating at some point. And then, you know that you're probably coming up to your period when you're feeling really hungry or you're feeling really down. Those are the typical things that you will hear from people time and time again. So, what is the menstrual cycle? Really, there's 4 different phases that I'm going to go through. So there's the menstrual phase and there's the follicular phase. These 2 phases I actually group together within what we call the grow phase. So because this is the time where you're growing estrogen, and I really focus on this hormone estrogen. This is from days 1 to 10. Day 1 is the first day you bleed. That's what we're counting as day 1 here to make everything understandable for everyone. And your menstrual phase is technically just the days that you bleed. So once you stop bleeding, you're then technically in your what they call your follicular phase. These terms can get so confusing, which is why I tend to I group them together and just call it the grow phase. But what I thought was really interesting, and I thought, it's easier to understand, is when you talk about the follicular phase, that is when your follicle is growing. So everyone talks about how when you ovulate, it releases an egg, and that's the only time you can get pregnant. And that's true. Technically, it's only when an egg is released is that when you're actually going to fall pregnant. But I guess the worrisome part is that when, if you're trying not to fall pregnant, is that when the sperm goes inside, sperm can last for around 5 days, okay? So that's why you should have protection around the day of ovulation if you know when your ovulation is. But when our follicle is growing, it actually creates a bit of inflammation, and this is something that I never got told, okay? And I know a lot of women out there who say that they feel pain around ovulation, and they kind of get dismissed a lot of the times. And unfortunately, sometimes it's even dismissed from women doctors. And I think it's because as women, we just deal with the pain. So pain to us is different than pain to men, I believe, when it comes to our, uterus. And so when we're in that follicular phase and the follicle's growing, if you've ever seen an image of it, it looks really red and inflamed when that follicle's growing at that time. So no wonder that there's women out there who are feeling pain around this time. And especially if you are inflamed elsewhere within the body. If your gut is inflamed, you're going to get that double whammy, of inflammation. So of course it's going to hurt more. And I just want that to sink in first, that if you are experiencing a bit of pain around this time, that it validates it a bit for you. If you've ever been told, oh, it's fine, that's nothing, or just suck it up or anything, no, it could be a sign that you've got inflammation throughout your body somewhere else. Because if you're experiencing enough pain to go and take pain medication, then that's a good sign that your body's trying to tell you something, and you should listen. Not listen to the people that say, oh, it's nothing, oh, don't worry about it. You know your body better than them. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't know your body well enough. No one knows your body as well as you do. And that's what I really want to send across in this message within this podcast, this episode, I should say, is to really hone in on understanding your body and believing in it, trusting in it again, listening to those messages that your hormones are sending you, because they're sending you them for a reason. So let's go back to that first stage again, just to recap. Day 1 to 10 is when you bleed, and that when you bleed is the menstrual phase, and then you are in your follicular phase up to day 10 when the follicle is growing. Now, anytime from day 11 to day 15, you could release an egg here. And it only happens the once, and it can fluctuate. It's not the same every month, and it shouldn't be. Don't stress, that is normal. So don't worry about that. But any day really from days 11 to 15 is kind of the will you release an egg, won't you time. And then after that, we've got the luteal phase, which heaps of people talk about. The luteal phase with, cravings, with feeling emotional. This is the time that maybe you're off your partner. You just can't stand them. I see so many videos. It's so funny of women like talking about, they know they don't even have to test their temperature, do those basal temperature checks, because they know when it's their luteal phase because their husband just pisses them off. And I get it. And you know what? Like back in the day, women, way back, hunter-gatherer days, I'm talking, the men would go off and hunt during that phase while the women would stay and hope to get pregnant. And so that would be their nurture time. And this is why I call it the nurture phase as well, because this is their nurture time. They were supposed to relax, de-stress at this time, hoping that the men would come back and they would be pregnant. So the men, this isn't the time that they felt really attractive or anything like that, because this is the time the body was given all that power to help create life. During ovulation, you're going to feel amazing because that was the time that you wanted men to, that was like the mating season, I guess. This is so icky and you're probably feeling like gross, but this is technically like biology back in hunter-gatherer days. Ovulation was the time where you're feeling amazing. So I actually saw another post one time on social media where a woman took a photo of herself in ovulation and then she took a photo of herself in the luteal phase. And there was actually not a huge difference, but you could tell the skin wasn't as glowing. She had some bags under her eyes. She looked a bit tired, and it just explained everything within a picture. Like that is how we feel. And if you can really understand that and hone in on that though, and not make it feel like a victim thing, not make it feel like, oh, my hormones are doing this to me. Instead, listening to your hormones and going, okay, they want me to do something here. So in business, for example, for myself, I'll use that luteal phase where I'm feeling really down and just like I don't want a bar of anyone. I'll use that as my reflection time, as my time to read. Because sometimes I have books that I love reading, but when I'm in my ovulation phase or when I'm in the follicular phase, I sometimes am like, instead of this time, I have a lot of energy. I would rather put that into creating. And so I'd go and create something, make some videos or something like that, something that really sparks my energy. Whereas during the other phase, I don't feel like filming. I don't feel like doing any videos. I feel and I don't look like myself. So in that time is my phase of more reflecting and reading my books, educating myself. That is my time where I can educate myself as much as I can. You can also educate yourself in the ovulatory phase because this is a time where you hold on to memory really well because of all the neurotransmitters that are stimulated. But in that luteal phase, it's also a time to you can read to educate yourself, but you can also read just for fun, just for some self-care. You need to this is your body reminding you need to add in those times for balance. Remember to create balance in your life. And if you don't, your body will fight against you, and then that's where you'll become like these two entities where you're just fighting against each other. You're not listening to your body, so then therefore your body won't listen to you, and therefore you'll feel out of sync, you'll feel burnt out, you'll have pain, you'll have inflammation, and as I said, you just won't feel in sync with life. So this is what it's all about, creating that synchronicity within your life. So common myths and misconceptions. Let's go through this. I have 10 here listed that I'm going to debunk. The first one, I think we should all know this by now, but it's still out there. All menstrual cycles last 28 days. No, they don't. No. Technically, they classify a normal menstrual cycle, a normal full cycle lasting anything from 21 to 35 days. For optimal, though, if you want more optimal, I would say from 25 to 35 days, okay? 21 to 35 is technically normal, but optimal, go from 25 days. Number 2 is you can get pregnant on your period. That's amazing that that's still a thing. No, you can't. You can't get pregnant on your period. You have to have released an egg, and when you're menstruating, your estrogen is so low there. It's only just starting to come to the surface. What was high was your progesterone. And then you've bled. So we're in that phase where we've got to start building up that follicle again. We haven't even built the follicle up. So it's definitely almost impossible to get pregnant on your period. It's all about, maybe some people think this because maybe you might have grown your follicle soon after your period, and then maybe you've released an egg, or you've had sex and then you've had the sperm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you've ovulated just after menstruation and you didn't realize. So maybe ovulation came on quicker than you thought. That could have happened, but no, you cannot get pregnant on your period. Number 3 is you should avoid all exercise during and while you're on your period. This is definitely not true. And for myself, I've got endometriosis. I get so relieved once my period comes, not about, oh, thank God I'm not pregnant, not about that. More like, okay, I just can't wait for this next phase. Like, let's get through this. And for me, with the pain that I get, when I exercise, it actually helps. I don't know if a lot of women can vouch for this. Some other women may say opposite, and that's fine too. So you don't have to exercise at this time, but for the women that are feeling really good and they're like, yeah, I've got all this energy, I'm ready to go. Oh, but I shouldn't exercise while I'm on my period. That's a myth. You can exercise on your period. That is fine. In fact, it's a really good thing, and it's going to help build up estrogen. Estrogen during this time can handle stress. What cannot handle stress is progesterone, and that's in that luteal phase, that nurture phase. So we don't want to be stressed out there, but after you've got your period, you can be stressed out all you want. Not all you want. We still got to find balance. So we'll put that in there, but estrogen can handle it. Number 4 is PMS is all in your head. Ugh. I hate this one. I think I hate this one so much because I can relate to it. Because I don't even know. It wasn't even many people that told me this growing up. But I thought it myself, which is, I don't know. I guess I was very hard on myself. But I always thought my pain wasn't painful enough. There was women who went to the hospital. I didn't need to go to the hospital. I needed to stay in bed and I couldn't move. I felt like fainting and almost vomiting at times, but I didn't need to go to hospital. So my pain isn't as bad. And I would put myself down. And I know there's a lot of women out there who do the same. Talking to someone that we love, or we know, a friend that is going through a lot of pain, the advice that we would give, we would be like, take this seriously, take your health seriously, look into it. Like, your pain is real, it's valid. Whereas we don't give that same excuse to ourselves. Well, a lot of us don't. I know I didn't for a long time there. And I still struggle with it from time to time. I actually went to my gynecologist appointment for my endo, and it was pretty full on, but I kind of just thought, it's still not bad enough for me to complain about it. Even though it's bad, but it's not bad enough. So I don't have validity in that, which is insane. I know that's wrong, but at the time, that's how I felt. And I didn't really think this until later on, when I was self-evaluating and reflecting and was like, no, actually, yeah, that appointment was pretty intense, and my pain is valid. Like it is. So maybe you don't have endometriosis, but maybe you do have PMS, and that's a really real thing. And if anyone out there tells you that diet doesn't help, they're lying, because there's lots of studies out there that show it does. And I know for myself, when I worked on my diet, I feel so much better. And I went out on the weekend to have lunch with girlfriends, and we were talking about this. And one of my friends that was saying her sister was going through endometriosis, and was saying, that she got told by many health coaches, that diet doesn't have anything to do with it. And I could relate to what she was saying, because that's what I believe. No health coaches told me that, but I straight away, when I was diagnosed and people were saying it could be because you're having dairy, you should cut out gluten and all this stuff, I was like, no. I straight away shut them down and was like, no, it's not because of that. It's not because of that. It's something else. And because I think what happens is you put yourself down when someone says that. Especially for me, I would feel like, damn, I didn't do a good enough job then. I've always eaten really healthy. I've always made sure that I had good health choices. I've always only drunk water. I only like water. Yet why am I going through this? And there's someone, that over there who has processed foods every single day, has soft drinks, has alcohol, and they're fine. So it's this whole comparison, and then this whole shame and putting yourself down. So I get why you're on the defense of, no, it's not food. It's just unluck. It's just the luck of it. Like I'm unlucky to get this, because I was in a bit of that denial too. But there's been studies on it, and I can vouch for it myself. I don't exclude anything from my diet. I don't go dairy free, and I don't go gluten free. But what I do is fasting, so everyone knows about that, and it has helped so much by chucking in those 24-hour fasts once a month. But the other thing I do because of that really is it's changed the way I view food. Those 24-hour fasts, it's changed my feeling towards food. So I eat differently now, and I guess I actually just ended up eating less dairy, eating less cheeses, and eating less breads and pasta. I rarely ever have pasta. And I love pasta. So that's crazy to say that I rarely ever have pasta. But it really does, when you lean into more fasting, it really does change your outlook on food. And it's definitely a neurochemical thing within your brain too. It just changes like your dopamine levels and stuff. And the addiction to food is it's gone, and it's different. So I can vouch and say that diet definitely does have a play if you are suffering from PMS. But I also just want to debunk that myth that it's nothing, it's all in your head. It is 100% not. If there is pain in your body, listen to it. Listen to it. I'm going to say this again. If you feel pain, listen to it. That is a message. We need to feel pain, We're lucky that we can feel pain. If we didn't feel pain, how scary would that be? We would never know if something was off or something was wrong. So feel blessed in a way that you can feel pain, because I know there's people out there that unfortunately can't. And trust your body again. Trust yourself again. You've got this. So 5 is your period should always be regular. There is nowhere to prove that. Your period could come on day 27 one month, and then the next day it could come on day 31, and that's still normal. This can fluctuate also, depending on how stressed you were during that luteal phase, how busy you were, if something really traumatic happened too, it could push it back. So this is normal, I want to say. So please don't stress if your period is not coming regular, like every 28 days, okay? It changes. It can change. That is fine. It's when your period might not come until day 36 or day 37 or longer. You know, that's where there's a bit of cause for concern. If your period's coming really early, like day 20 or day 21, I would listen to your instincts, because I bet you've had some and you're just not listening to them. And yeah, we need to investigate this. So number 6 is birth control regulates your cycle. Well, but when you have your cycle, when you're on birth control, it's an artificial cycle. Like, it's not your true hormones. You're not ovulating, so you're not getting those neurotransmitters and the estrogen that builds at that time. You're not getting that estradiol. So it's not actually regulating it. And if anything, it's just suppressing it. So when you come off the pill, your period could be irregular and everything. And then you could be like, I thought, I was on the pill and it was regulating my period. I'm sorry, but technically that's not a true period. In saying that, I am actually going to make a point about birth control, because there is a lot of noise out there saying how bad it is. And I was on that bandwagon too. And I just want to say, if anyone is on birth control for any medical reason, for like endometriosis or anything else, it's not bad if you're not having any side effects from it, if it's not being a band-aid. If you're on birth control, but you got on it for the right reasons, it wasn't to fix pain or something else happening, unless you've got endometriosis or something like that, then it's okay. You're going to be fine. It's not bad for our health. And there was actually a podcast that I listened to it. I cannot remember who the woman was, which is annoying now, but she was on Diary of a CEO. So you can definitely find her easily. But she talks about this, and she's a doctor, and she actually says the pill isn't bad. The pill's not bad. It's only bad when it becomes that Band-Aid effect. So it's only bad if you're feeling pain, and then that's the reason that you're going on it, or if your period's really irregular and then you go on it to fix it. They're cause for alarms, and they're you not listening. That's you not listening to your body. So we need to listen to the hormones first and not fix it with a pill. But if you're going on it and everything's fine, like nothing was wrong before, and then you've gone on it, that's okay. And if you're on it because you have endometriosis and the pain is unbearable, that is good too, okay? Because it's so much better than going through that pain each month, because that pain is horrendous and that just brings on a huge amount of stress, and that stress is worse for you than what the pill's going to do. So don't listen to anyone I want you to feel empowered for taking it if you're listening to this, because I know and I understand that feeling, and that was me. I didn't feel empowered to take it. I felt like, not that I'm not back on it right at the moment, but I just want those people out there who are experiencing horrendous pain and they're feeling like defeated because say they gave in to the pill. You didn't give in to the pill, okay? You did what your body wanted you to do. You did what was needed to help your body. You are helping yourself. So just for anyone who's feeling like, oh, I'm doing the bad thing by being on the pill's not bad. It's only bad when it's used as a Band-Aid for other things other than endometriosis. All right, number 8. Women should eat the same way throughout their cycle. No. If you've listened to any of my other episodes, women should actually, to empower yourself in those hormonal phases, you actually want to change up your eating style. So during that day 1 to day 10 where you're building up estrogen, you actually want to eat a low carb diet. If this is triggering for anyone, low carb, I get it, but it's not the whole time. I'm not saying a low carb diet forever. Low carb diet, those day 1 to day 10 days, and tell yourself that when you feel like it's being restrictive or you're missing out, you will get to eat those high carbs again, that high carb diet again. It's just this week you want to have low carb. You want to have more fruits and vegetables and protein and good fats. You can have a lot of healthy fats here. So the avocado, almond butter, flaxseed oil, olive oil, those sorts of things. They're great to have during this time. Nuts, but carbs, so potatoes and stuff, we actually want to have less during this time. For progesterone, which is in your luteal phase, you actually want to bring up the carbs. Higher carbs during this time is better. So healthy carbs during this time is A-OK. So that's where it's good to have more potatoes and stuff. And it depends on your goals too with protein, how much protein you have. It's the general rule is 1 gram of protein per pound, or if you're in Australia, it's 1 gram of protein per 0.45 kilograms and of body weight, of your body weight. So that also though depends if you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to lose weight, typically you kind of want to stay less protein first. Anyway, that's another topic for another episode that I will do coming up soon too, because remember this is just part 1. So that I feel like I've skipped. I can't even remember the numbers, so I'm not even going to number them. But the next one was you should avoid swimming or physical activity on your period. This is not true, and this just restricts women. You can swim. You can do physical activity on your period. That is fine. The next one is heavy period is normal. Define heavy. But if you're having a lot of blood clots and it's a lot. If it's a lot and you know it's oddly a lot, something's happening. Remember, this is another message from your body. Something's going on. Next one is menopause happens suddenly and out of nowhere. I swear this is just a scary story to scare all us women. Menopause doesn't just happen out of nowhere. And perimenopause, that lead up to menopause, gives you a hell of a lot of warnings, like it's coming. And the more we can become aware of this time and the understanding of what this time entails and the signs and symptoms and how to best prep yourself in this time, the better you're going to be when you hit menopause. You are going to fly through it with you're going to feel so amazing during this time, whereas a lot of women nowadays have had some struggles. A lot, like there's a huge population that have had struggles when they've hit menopause. And it's because we didn't have a lot of information on it. It's only just coming out now. So if you're around my age, I'm turning 30 this year, you're lucky because we do have more access to a lot more information that women who have been through this phase didn't. So it doesn't just happen out of nowhere, and it isn't a bad thing. It's actually a really good time if you can understand it and if you can best prep yourself for it. So that's all the myths that I wanted to debunk, and I just want the message here that get to know your cycle, understand your body, understand what little signs and symptoms, the pain, what is it telling you? There's a root cause there. There's something there. And don't ever let anyone make you feel like your pain isn't valid or your signs or emotions or anything isn't valid enough to investigate it. It's your body. You should best know it, get to know it the better than anyone else. You have every right. So to help you track your cycle, I do have a free tracking calendar that I created in Excel. It's an amazing Excel spreadsheet, and it's for the next year. You can plan your business to it, you can plan your life to it, and you can also track your symptoms and emotions. It's a standard Excel spreadsheet, so it's easy to manipulate and edit if you are on a desktop and computer. If you're on your phone, you can't really do much, but you can change the days where your bleed is, where your ovulation is, all that. And then when you could even just print it out and take out those days and then just put in your symptoms, your emotions that you're feeling each day and track it and get to know yourself. Understand your cycle. That is what this episode today is all about. And I want you to feel empowered and feel empowered that you know what's going on with your body. And this is going to help. Tracking this through this calendar is going to help in any future doctor's appointments coming up, any future scenarios that come up with your health. You have this to go back to and to take with you to the doctors and be like, actually, I felt this day. And this is actually going to help the doctors so much because it's going to give them such a good insight, so detailed. And why not, So I hope that made you feel empowered. Get to know your body, get to know yourself. Please don't forget to join the waitlist for the 6-week group program, Holistic Method. And if you liked this episode, please leave a rating or review. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for listening. I actually got over 1,000 downloads. And that's a lot for me, okay? I am happy with that because this is a small podcast that I started back in April, March, whenever it was. And I didn't even know if I was going to get one listener. So I am happy with that. So thank you so much for all those people that are actually taking the time to listen to me. I hope I'm not a bore. And I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.